Just because you spend over $1 million for a house doesn't always mean you're going to get a great job. I was called out here about a month and a half ago, but I've been busy, so I haven't been able to make it out here yet. But I'm going to show you these two showers and why the issues are happening. This house was built in 2003, so it's just now about, well, it's under 20 years old. And kind of get into all the issues that they're having, which are really bizarre. To me anyway, I would expect this on a lower end house. So here we have his shower and her shower, and it's travertine, and I'm a big fan of travertine because even 20 years later you can still find tile. 50 years later you're going to be able to find tile. In this case, this is an 8x8 tile, and they weren't able to find it, so they actually had to have it made in order for there to be a replacement with some of this tile. I'm gonna go through some of the issues. First of all, this whole shower is built on grain board, and I'm not how would I say, I'm okay using grain board if they waterproof. They didn't waterproof anything, right? So what we have, there are a couple issues. First of all, this is the main reason that he called me. Tile are starting to disadhere from the wall because the wall is compromised, and that's a big issue. It's even cracked over here. This bullnose is cracked. So because the wall is compromised, because when I came here before, I took the escutcheon plate off and I saw that it was actually just grain board with no waterproofing, which is a big mistake. The other mistake that I anticipate is that they stuck the grain board into, again and again and again, I see it over and over no matter what the backer board is, into the pan, meaning the pan liner was put down, they put the grain board, or any backer board for that matter, down to the bottom of the pan liner, then they pour the mortar up against it, so that these folds that they have and all that stuff would get pushed in instead of having that little bump out people are scared about. And I anticipate 100% that that's what they did. They stuck their wallboard inside the pan first, then poured their pan. The reason I say that, look at all this mold and mildew. And so as much caulking as they've done over the last 17 years, recaulking is just popping out, and it's all grungy and it's all nasty. And you have all this, it's, you know, it's a petri dish. It just is not going to ever go away. Before they put, looks like silicone, before they put that on there, they could spray bleach it all day long, and it would still grow back, because sheetrock's not supposed to be in a shower if it's not waterproof. Definitely not supposed to be inside the shower pan. So that's what I anticipate is going on. But the reason they called me originally, look at that tile, how it's just degraded. I've never seen travertine degrade like this. I mean, yes, it's a soft stone, but that should have never, ever happened. And it's only happened in that one spot. So my take on that is that the cleaner has used a harsh chemical, 100% bleach, Tilex, all kinds of other chemicals to clean this shower. Probably twofold. Probably there's a lot of water getting through there, which, you know, without a doubt there is, but also because of the harsh chemicals that were used. I think there's a little degradation of some of the tile over here too, but not as much as that corner, which is odd. So my job is to take out this whole shower pan. I'm going to try and limit it to one tile up, but I don't think I'll be successful. I think that sheetrock is too wet, saturated, nasty, and all that stuff. I'll probably have to go up 2 tile. So I'll go up about 16 inches all the way around. Once all the material is fully taken out, curb, tile, floor, all that stuff, then I will go forward with the rebuild. Once I take out the material, I can actually start doing, In the meantime, I'm lucky because once I get this torn out, put the shower pan in, mortar and all that stuff, I can start over here. Because the homeowner said to me, if I've got that problem over there, I'm going to have it over here as well. So we're going to knock out 2 birds with 1 stone, so to speak, because the same issue is happening here, including cracking of the curb material, which is really, really bad. And so if they're using green board on here, I almost bet you they wrap green board around the curb, which is craziness. But yeah. So it's going to be the same issue here and the same process of redoing this. Not going to be able to show the process of doing a pan. I do probably, I'm going to say 3 or 4 pan redos in the course of the year. I'm not even 5 minutes in. You see some crazy stuff. When I think I see everything that I've possibly ever seen, I run into situations where I'm like, ooh, I've never seen this before. You're asking yourself, what the heck is all that gooey, slimy stuff? This is really as bad as it gets. So they used hardybacker. People say, oh, hardybacker. You know what this might be? I don't think this is hardybacker. This is more of a fiber. This is a USG fiber rock. I believe that's fiber rock. It can fool you sometimes because they kind of copy hardybacker as far as their, you know, the squares and all that stuff. Yeah, I think that's fiber rock, which, you know, whatever. This is the weirdest shower pan. This is caulking. This is silicone caulking. Wow. I could put a rock in there, fling it. Ding. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen on a curb. Like, seriously. I'm amazed. This is caulking on the shower pan liner. So they did use a shower pan liner. They didn't wrap the curb with it. Look how saturated that curb is. All that wood is just soaked. They used a pan liner up to the edge of the curb. And then they used a huge amount of caulking, and probably a lot more than that once I get into it. You would think on a spec house would be built better than this. Look at this. This is just insanity. What is the purpose of all the caulking? Like, why? I don't know. Like, I can't even. This is absolutely, I've never seen this before. It's like a whole bead, that board is just saturated to death. That is just, this is one of the, I would expect this from a homeowner. I'd expect this from a handyman. Not that all handyman, you know, do crap jobs. I'm just saying, like I can't even, every time I'm hitting it with the hammer, water splashing up at me. This is full of water. You can't see it. Maybe you can, I don't know. This pan is absolutely saturated with water. Absolutely. It's literally up to the halfway of the tile, which means this entire pan is going to come out really easy peasy because it's just wet. It's just saturated. Holy moly. Yep, got my work cut out for me. I think I need to hire a film crew. Because I was contemplating, you know, like, okay, well, let me get out the wall material first. I don't want to do the floor first, right? So I banged this 2 times with a hammer. When I banged it 2 times with a hammer, look what happened. Of course, this is the rotted piece of tile, which is odd other in itself. my first inclination. It was built with sheetrock, green board, because that's what I saw when I took off that plate. I think what they did, because I've seen it sometimes where guys will build showers with Durarock or Hardybacker or something up to a certain point, and then they'll follow it with sheetrock above that. So that could very possibly be. But look at that water. Like, I'm so glad I brought my shop vac, because this is just ridiculous amount of water. So you're probably saying to yourself, there is no pre-slope in here, and that's why you have all this water. Or your weep holes are your weep holes are covered up. Yeah, either one could be true. The weep holes could be clogged up, although there's more than weep holes for water to egress on a drain. People get focused on those 4 little holes, and that's just not all there is for water to egress. If there was a pre-slope, would all this water have gone away? It could be argued that this is the lowest point of the floor, and that water, and that I won't see that over here. It could be argued, but we shall see. I'm not feeling, I don't know. I have to get into this a lot deeper before I make any assumptions. But it is definitely a big mess. Look at that. Oh my goodness gracious. That wood is just rotted out, slimy, everything. Yeah, that's definitely sheetrock there. Oh, by the way, another thing that I meant to mention, don't use gray thin set when you're using a light colored grout. Part of this problem has to do with that, I'm sure. Not a good idea, because this gray colored thin set will bleed through to your light colored grout, especially with these very, very thin grout lines that you have. So you have a choice. You can use white thin set, and they did not do that. Yes, we got a mess. This water has been saturated from the day it started in 2003. It just started wicking. Look at that. It just started wicking up water. It never stopped. It's been doing this now for 17 years. Regardless, and despite that they used a better backer board. Now this is sheetrock back in here, and so they kind of did what I thought they did, because yeah, so they got sheetrock above that, but of course that doesn't matter because that water is going to jump up there anyway. So I'll eventually use my little Dremel and I'll cut out all that excess backer board going all the way around. And what I said before was not to be true. There is water in this little trough area all the way around, including the back. There's just, this pan is just filled with, you know, a couple gallons of water. So as I get into it, I'll kind of figure out why, because and I already know that they didn't do a pre-slope, but even if they had done a pre-slope, would that water still have stagnated like that? I'm saying yes, because wicking action has ensured that. And it could be argued again that the weep holes were clogged up, but I don't buy into that either, because if water gets through all of this material, through tile and all that stuff, and if water wicks into mortar, it doesn't matter the density of the mortar. Where you have tiny little weep holes on your drain, it's going to get through that as well. Plus the bolt holes, plus the troughs that are integrated into the drain, plus the cutouts of the barrel of the drain. So there's a lot of ways for water to egress. But in the end, it's kind of a mood issue, because as I always say, you have to kill the patient to find the disease. The patient's already dead, so all I can do is an autopsy on figuring out why the patient died. And there you go. So I've got all the board out, cut out from the very top all the way around. I'll just tie in my new wall board to that. So the next step is taking out all this pan material, sucking out all the water, seeing if the drain is on point. I might swap that out with a better one. I don't like that big grate as opposed to what they have now. That's much better. By the way, this is pretty cool. Her bathroom, bidet. His bathroom, a urinal. That's very cool. Well, I finally got all the pan material out. It's not as wet as I thought it was. There's some very, very strange things going on here. Most of the shower pan around this area was dry. I mean, I wetted it up because you had all that little trough going on. So that's excess water that was kind of almost stabilized into that trough for whatever reason. And I don't know why. Maybe the PSI of the mortar had something to do with it. Not really sure why, but it was mostly dry. So water never managed to wick through the floor to ever get to the weep holes. And there's definitely no pre-slope, which I knew there wasn't. We don't really do them here in Georgia. And it's kind of irrelevant now anyway because we're waterproofing the whole thing. Had they waterproofed the whole thing, I wouldn't be here right now. But it's possible. Red Garden, all that product didn't exist 17 years ago. But they still messed up in a lot of different ways. That curb was probably the worst. Oh, speak of the curb, you can clearly see there are some nail holes. Where did I see one at? I saw one pretty close to where the edge was. And this looks like it's all caulking. It looks like they just slathered on a bunch of caulking on top of the liner. Which, yeah, that's what it was. It's just a very, very odd endeavor to make it waterproof somehow, and it failed anyway. See that nail hole? Which doesn't matter anymore anyway, because the way I build showers, nothing can ever wick up past this point anyway, because I've got my gap. But definitive rusting going on here, so there was obviously some type of fastener. This is where they noticed a problem. Notice they did a little cutout on that back wall in the closet to figure out what was going on. And a little bit of rot down there. Not bad. I've seen worse on the subfloor. In fact, I was expecting worse on the subfloor. We don't have it, which is a good thing. But here's this is the interesting thing about doing this anatomy thing. I just accidentally, when I was pulling out the floor, I accidentally noticed this nail literally embedded into the mortar, right? So my take on it, it's not that they just threw the nail and oh well, it doesn't matter. My take on it is that it was going through the wall at some point in the pan liner, right? Then when they poured the pan, yeah, it all kind of got stuck in it because that's very low. This is the bottom part. So that and a bunch of other tiny mistakes are the reason this patient died. Oh, speaking of which, this is the curb material. So you notice very definitive fasteners in there. Again, my material stopped somewhere about, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches. Whoop, 3 or 4 inches. And then rising above that, it doesn't matter if I have fasteners in my curb because there's a gap. My tile slides into that gap and the wall board is above that over my curb. Therefore water can't ever get to the top of there, and I'm red guarding everything anyway. So there's probably 3 or 4 lines of defense going on with the shower we build nowadays. See how dry this pan was? I mean literally just really dry as a bone. Except for the water I splashed around on it. So that's a very interesting situation because obviously the perimeter was very wet, but the bottom of the pan was very dry. Very strange. But some of the things they did on here were just bizarre. Don't understand why you would spread caulking on top of a shower pan liner. Makes no sense. And it caused all of that. You know, despite their best efforts to waterproof it, it did not work. This is everything torn out. There's some definitive wood rot, not wood rot necessarily, because I've seen it really, really bad before where you can literally put your finger through it. But it's had definite water penetration for many, many years, as well as this. This is crazy. This plate to protect, all it's doing, this whole long plate is just to protect that one pipe, which is kind of nutty. But this plate is just about rusted out at the bottom and everything, which probably saved this wood. But yeah, there are some issues here. Not as much as I thought. One of the reasons I don't like floating, I want to talk about this for just a moment, because I see people that float their curb. So however they float it, if they use that plastic piece that goes in there, it's like curb perfect product, or if they just use wire mesh and all that stuff. So your pan is floated, and then your curb is floated, and then if any water gets into your pan material, it's going to wick up into your curb, no matter what the makeup is, even if it's brick, even if it, I mean, it doesn't really matter what it is, it's going to wick up because the two are married, the two are attached. And this is what I see. I see this bad, bad wood rot. This isn't horrible. Again, I've seen it a lot worse. And it's in the subfloor as far as it can go out. Like right now, there's no point in taking all this up, but I guarantee, as bad as this is, it probably goes out another 12, 14 inches in that direction. And that's why I don't like floated curbs. If you could not have your curb attached to your mortar bed, then you're pretty much good to go. This is pretty bad too. Yeah, just a real slop job for what it should have been. And I've taken out all the bottom row of tile here, and you can see this is basically the same exact replication of how they built the other one, where they kind of marry these two. In fact, they didn't even do that here, because they were using fiber rock and then marrying it to the sheetrock above, and they just used sheetrock inside of the pan. Inside of the pan. It's lunacy. Why would we think sheetrock? See, here's the fiber rock again, which is stuck to all the tile that I took off, and then sheetrock straight up around. Sheetrock, sheetrock, sheetrock. But they did come off with fiber rock down here. They just didn't do it on the other side. And fiber rock is crap when it gets wet. So no good at all. And then we have the same issue going here with this moat that I saw on the other side. And again, this pan is not saturated with water. As I took out the other side, you saw that the mortar was like impervious to the water penetration, which is why this moat was created. So it really has nothing to do with there was no pre-slope or this problem or that problem or yada yada yada, which I thought when I took out this section of the other shower. That's what I thought. I thought we've got some major malfunction with the pan, which we do insofar as it's not absorbing any water. And so this moat that was created by the one thing that they did wrong, by putting their wallboard inside of there, well, they did a lot of things wrong. I strike that. But this curve is just, this is what I was talking about when I can literally pull off rotten wood off of here. It's just horrible. And this floor is going to be much worse. The subfloor is going to be much worse. So yeah, jackhammer all this stuff out like I did on the other shower, and we shall see all the damage. Completely dry. Just dry as a bone. I don't get it. Up on the edge, there's a little bit of, just a little bit of water penetration up around the edge. Right there. And that's it. It never made it past that. Didn't even go up underneath. This is all, it's just powder. I mean, literally, it's just powder. Just dry as a bone. I don't understand how that's possible. But it's all dry at the bottom. This would have been an awesome pan. This would have lasted forever. Because it's just incredibly dense. I might have to figure out what that stuff is. Nice tile lay too. Look at that. Tile just meshed with the thin set that meshed with the mortar. Very, very nice. That part anyway. Best thing I can say about it. I had done a little story on my storyboard a little while back talking about a contiguous pan liner. So this is about 7 by 8 is what I needed. They didn't want it glued together, a traditional pan liner. So I had to get this pond liner. This is for like koi ponds or, you know, whatever around your backyard. It's actually made by, I think the guy said B&F Goodrich, the tire company, which I believe, because this stuff is really, really durable and stretchy. In fact, if I didn't know better, I would say that the inner tubes are actually made by this material. It's very, very tough, very stretchy, a little difficult to cut, even with a sharp razor knife. For some reason, it really dulls the blade fairly quickly. So, yeah, it's a lot different than what I am accustomed to. I like the idea of one piece rather than gluing in a couple of pieces and scabbing them in. But it's probably, I'm going to say about twice the price of a traditional Odie pan liner. But when you're in a pinch, that's what you do. So yeah, very, very tough material. Very, very tough. So these two shower pans are finished, and it's been a little longer than I anticipated. Ran into some issues that I'm not going to go into. But anyway, it is done. Kind of like it never happened. These tile were not found, as I mentioned before, were not found. These 8 by 8, they were custom cut, and they did a pretty good job at cutting them exactly the right size for me to get them in there. And it is grouted already, so there's a little haze on it. I got the curb flush. I could not do the solid curb top on this one because it was relegated to the top of this rail, and therefore my measurement from the very start had to be 79 and 78 and 5/8 to the top of the rail. So a couple of issues, little hiccups. They used 1/4 inch backer board, so I had to take out the 1/2 inch and refashion some 1/4 inch in, and there's only a slight pitch going in, not as much as I would like, but it is basically like it never even happened. Same with the other one. Exactly replication of what I just showed with all the 8-inch tile going around. I like this shaped rock tile. It's actually travertine, and so it's the same family as the wall tile and everything. You're going to see the squares. This is very important to know. You're going to see where all the squares are because of the lines around there. And when it was first offered to me, I looked at it and I said, wow, this is a really simple pattern. So my experience, having done this before, is that these simple patterns, because every one of these mosaic look exactly alike, they're identical with these rocks and that little dip and those and that little dip. And the very simple design that they put on there makes it so that you see every square. It's a little less evident when it's wet, but I don't like it, and I let them know ahead of time when I did a dry fit on here that all of those lines would show. And I was hoping for the best after it was grouted, but it did not work out. So you know, the homeowner was okay with it, so I'm okay with it. I don't like it. The more complicated the pattern, the less likely you're going to have that issue, because I have done this before with a complicated pattern more than a few times, and it worked out really well where they lock in together best way possible. Also got rid of that cheesy drain. I hate those little aluminum drains. This is a stainless steel drain. It's about $34, $35 at Home Depot, and it's well worth the money. I just like the grate is smaller. It's a sturdier drain, and the cap comes out with screws. As I said, this was an interesting job with showers. These two showers were built back when the house was built about 17 years ago. It probably looked really, really sharp back then, and over time things have kind of happened, but also because, you know, they didn't really build it right to start with, and that was the whole point of the video to begin with. That's why I didn't show any of the build back process, because I'm just trying, a lot of these things are heads up. Oh, also don't clean, if you have a natural stone, and it doesn't matter that it's travertine or marble or anything, don't clean with bleach products. No Tilex, no straight bleach, no any of that stuff, which is part and parcel to the reason we had this issue to begin with over here. Besides the fact that they built the shower wrong, the stone literally had degraded, and that's not good. Of course, it took a long time to do that, but still, I'm just saying. So, I'm out. On to the next job. Hey, if you enjoyed that video and you learned something, consider being a Patreon member. $5, $10, $15 a month would help me greatly produce more videos. I make nothing from YouTube at all. If you're going to call me for advice, please donate $50 for 30 minutes. My link to my PayPal and my Patreon account is down below. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you get immediate notifications as soon as I post videos. And thank you very much for your support.